Hello and welcome. My name is Kristin Tyler. I'm one of the co-founders of LAWCLERK.legal. Today's webinar is going to go into how to pick the best hiring option with LawClerk. We started out with just one hiring option and now we have three. And what that means is we give you lots of flexible, affordable ways to get the help you need when you need it. But I know that sometimes having a lot of options can be a little confusing or overwhelming and you're not quite sure which one to go with. So we're going to walk through each of the options today and talk about some strategies about when to choose which option and also sneak preview how to mix and match. Okay. All right, let me queue up my slides and away we go. You would think I've done this a few times. Okay. So, all right, I think I've got this up now. Great. Okay. So hopefully you're not seeing my note slides. If anybody is, if you can drop me a note, let me know. But all right, how to pick the best hiring option with LawClerk. When it comes to hiring in today's legal market, there's a lot of options and it's important to consider them all. And, when we talk about those options, that means a full-time hire, a part-time hire, an in-office hire, or a remote hire or hybrid. And then, of course, besides the traditional method of hiring an associate for your firm as an actual employee, there's also outsourcing. Outsourcing is where you hire another lawyer on a contract basis or a per diem basis. There can be a lot of names for the same thing, but this is the basic idea, is that you are you're hiring someone when you need them to help you with that heavy lifting, that extra work. There's a ton of options out there when it comes to legal outsourcing. Of course, our company, LAWCLERK.legal, is one of those, but there's lots of them, mainly across the big law space or the corporate legal space. But of course, that's expanding, and there's appearance services. There are even, freelance paralegal services, or of course, virtual receptionists. There's a lot of different ways to get the help you need. Okay. Now, where does LawClerk fit into this mix? Well, we at LawClerk, that's LAWCLERK.legal. You probably know that if you're joining us here today, but we offer a service for attorneys to hire other attorneys on a freelance basis when you need extra help. That could be every single day. That could be once a month, once a quarter. There's lots of options, but in a nutshell, we help busy attorneys get more work done, and there's lots of ways to do that. When it comes to legal outsourcing, we're talking about the substantive legal work. And you may be wondering, well, what can you outsource? You can outsource so many things. Of course, things like research, drafting documents, help with discovery, contracts, litigation, transactional work, so much more. And of course, there are services that offer appearance work as well. Ours isn't really geared to that, but I do have, of course, a caveat. So we'll go into that today. Now, when LawClerk started, we offered only project-based work, okay? But we have now expanded to offer both an hourly associate option and a subscription service. So we're going to talk through all of those today to kind of talk through the full spectrum of options, what these look like, how they can help you, because when you look at projects, hourly, subscription, it's kind of like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Which one do I pick? And so I want to make sure and try to lay that out for you today so you have a clear idea of the options available to you. Let's start out with the original, a project, okay? A project is one single piece of work. It is for written work only, and it's when you have something come up in your practice that you either don't have time to do, you don't fully have the expertise, but it's close enough to your realm of expertise, or you don't want to do it, and that's fine too. You get to a point in your practice where you can't do everything and you have to pick and choose, and there's some things you simply may not want to do because you'd rather focus on higher value work. That's when a project is perfect. It's one single piece of work. And this is available to you anytime, even if you're using our hourly program or our subscription program, you can always post a project. Let's look at a couple of situations where a project would be very helpful. Okay. Example number one, let's say your opposing party files a motion for summary judgment and your schedule is jam-packed and you don't have time to write that opposition yourself before it's due. That is the perfect time to log into your LawClerk account, post that work, that drafting the opposition as a project to get another lawyer to step in and help you get that work started via a project, okay? That's option number one. Option number two is when you are, maybe you have something that's legal work you could do, but you don't necessarily have the expertise easily at hand. So maybe like you work in healthcare litigation, but one of your longtime clients comes to you and says, hey, I bought this rental property and I need a lease agreement. Can you help me out? Pretty much any lawyer could write a lease agreement and cover the basics of, the terms of the agreement, the property, the parties, if they have time, but you may not have a form on hand. That's a great time to outsource that task, get it to another lawyer who does have that expertise to complete the work for you via a project. Another time it can be really helpful to post a project is, of course, when you are gearing up for trial. I mean, trial is like a time warp, and the days go so fast, the hours go so fast, and you really need to clone yourself. And you kind of can with LAWCLERK and our freelance lawyers, which is really great. So when you come in here, let's say you're gearing up for trial and you need help with jury instructions, or you need help with motions in limine, or prepping questions for voir dire, or whatever, fill in the blank. There's a lot of work to get done. And this is like a temporary need. You have a discrete identifiable project. I need jury instructions. I need a motion in limine. That is a great time to come in and post that work as a project. Last example, I tried to come up with a handful of examples for each of these was, let's just say your longtime client comes to you with some really unusual question about law. Okay. My background is I practice in estate planning and probate, and I have estate planning clients come to me all the time with issues. Maybe, clients involved with new industries like cannabis, or you have clients that own property in another country, and you want to figure out how do you work that into their estate plan, or what kind of estate plan do they need in that country. Clients are always coming to us with their problems and their unique issues. That's why we have jobs, but we don't always have time to dig into those unique legal issues. And so if you're faced with one of those, you don't want to dig into yourself. Perfect time to post a project. Okay. Here's a few easy examples. I'm going to go through these kind of fast of some actual projects on LAWCLERK. Of course, we see a lot of litigation work. I'd say about 65 to 70% of our work is litigation focused. But we have a lot of transactional work as well. So here's a few ideas. Discovery, that's a big one that, I think it's pretty universal that most lawyers really don't like discovery. That can be a great type of work to outsource and get off of your deck, get onto someone else's plate to free up your time. So keep in mind, we can help with a lot of different things when it comes to discovery. Of course, motion practice, we have seen pretty much every kind of motion under the sun come through the site. So you can always post a motion or an opposition or a reply as a project to get that document drafted. Trial prep, I mentioned that already. There's lots of ways you could tap into our ecosystem to get that help when you're in the final push towards trial. And beyond that, of course, appellate briefs. We've seen appellate briefs at every circuit court, every appellate court, all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. We've seen these anywhere from, believe it or not, $1,500 as a flat fee, all the way up to $20,000 and more. So the whole gamut of litigation work, we've seen it. You can outsource it. There is a way to do it, and we will help you figure that out via a project. Now, on the transactional side, of course, we don't want to leave out our transactional lawyers because we see a lot of work there too. Of course, you can get any sort of written document drafted from a talented freelance lawyer via a project. Letters, memos, agreements, contracts, etc. All of those good things. In terms of prices, here's a few just, basic examples, but there are so many. What does posting a project on LAWCLERK actually mean? Well, when you go to lawclerk.legal, you log into your account, which, by the way, there's no fee to sign up and there's no monthly fees, so that's great. When you sign up, you can then go in and you're going to post a project. And here's the basic screen of what that involves. You give the project a name, you set the deadlines, you say if you want an initial draft, and you're going to set a flat fee price for that project. Now, some of you just heard like wheels screeching, like, what, a flat fee price? How do we do that? Not on an hourly basis. It's easy. We're going to help you estimate the time of, the amount of work that's going to go into this. You're going to figure out what kind of hourly rate you're willing to pay a freelancer. And let's say you think it's 6 hours of work and you're willing to pay $100 an hour. That's easy. 6 times 100 is a $600 flat fee project. Note that you can always increase the price you're paying. So if the scope of work expands, you want to be fair to the freelancer and pay them for it. You can always increase your fee, but you can't pull it back. And again, when you sign up for LAWCLERK, if you don't already have an account, you'll be matched with one of our dedicated LAWCLERK advisors. Your advisor is kind of like a concierge. They're going to be there to help walk you through the whole process of posting a project, how to price it, how to pick the best applicant, et cetera, et cetera. So you can really lean on your advisor to get a feel for pricing projects until you feel like you got the hang of it. Now, I ran through a few example projects very quickly, but maybe you practice in an area of law that's very specific, like employment or criminal or immigration or whatever. On our website, again, lawclerk.legal, if you go into our resources area, we have a whole section that provides packets of sample projects, really in detail samples by different practice areas. So that's a great resource. You can go find your practice area, look at the packet. That's going to give you a bunch of ideas to see what other people are outsourcing, how they're pricing it, and the results they're getting. Okay, very important part of this conversation is, I think, to also make sure you don't lose sight of the fact that hiring another lawyer to help you get work done should always make you more money. Okay, this is not an expense. This is a moneymaker. One of the biggest questions I get asked is, well, can lawyers make money off, through outsourcing the same way you do as hiring an associate attorney at your firm? And the answer is yes. The key ethics rule to keep in mind in all 50 states is Model Rule 1.5. This says that attorneys can charge a reasonable fee for their client, for their work, to their client. Okay, so reasonableness is the measure. Okay, what's a reasonable rate? You're going to determine a reasonable rate for your freelancer based on their years of experience, the specialty of their knowledge, the complicated nature of the work, their experience and the talent and the knowledge that they're bringing into this. Okay, a really great resource if you're not sure how to set a reasonable hourly rate for work done by your freelancer is the latest Clio Legal Trends report came out with an appendix of average hourly rate data for all 50 states and all practice areas. So that's a great resource. If you've not checked out the latest Clio Legal Trends report, I would encourage you to do so because it's going to give you some really great ideas on how to price your projects. Okay, so we're talking about projects still. That's still area one because, it is our bread and butter. It's where we started the company and where a lot of lawyers get a lot of work done. So let's show how you can make money with a project on LawClerk. Okay, let's say that you have a project you're going to outsource to the freelance lawyer. You find the freelancer, you agree to pay them $1,000 to write a motion, okay? They track how many hours they work, they give you that time card. Let's say it's 8.5 hours. You determine that a reasonable market rate for their work is $200 an hour. That may seem super low to some of you. It may seem high to some of you, but let's just go with it, okay? This would mean that you could bill those 8.5 hours to your client at $1,700. Keeping in mind that you paid $1,000 for the work, that's a profit of $700 on one piece of work. Plus it saved you 8.5 hours of your own time to write it. Maybe it would have taken you only 6, but still that's almost a whole day's worth of work that you could be doing other billable work, generating new clients, doing, whatever else you need to do. Okay, this is one single project where you drive an additional $700 profit into your firm. Imagine if you did that once a week, every week for a year. Okay, $700 times 52 weeks is over $36,000. If you're a solo attorney or a small firm, that's real money. That's game changer money, especially when a lot of us are feeling the crunch of inflation and prices on everything are going up. We're feeling that the same as the entire public. And this is a great way to drive more revenue into your firm without the overhead of a full-time associate hire. Okay, that's projects in a nutshell. Single piece of work, a discrete project, written work only, super easy to get those posted on the site, to get that help. You can always, always, always access a project when you need it. Let's move on now to our hourly associate. Okay, this is our newest offering that we rolled out in January of this year, and it has exploded. This is what a lot of you have been waiting for, is to be able to hire a freelance lawyer and pay them on an hourly basis when you need help. Okay, hourly is kind of our middle offering. Okay, it's more than a single project, but it's not as much of a commitment as subscription. Okay, if you don't need 20 hours of help every week, great. Hire someone through our hourly program and you're going to pay them when you actually need them to give you some help. Okay. Again, the hourly option is, really for firms of all sizes, and it gives you an option to have reliable help that you can tap into when you need it, when it might otherwise be hard to predict how many hours you need in a subscription, or you know the amount of work exceeds a single project. Okay. Hourly associates give law firms of all sizes a flexible option for that overflow work, especially when it's hard to predict that. I think I've covered that. But let's go through some examples on hourly of when an hourly associate is a good choice. Okay, number one, let's say your firm needs a lawyer to work on an hourly basis during, the duration of a litigation case. And that could last months, that could last years. It's hard to predict. You know that in litigation, sometimes you need a lot of help. Sometimes you need medium help. Sometimes you need no help, just depending on where you're at in the course of the case. And so what's great with hourly is you have this freelance lawyer on standby through this hourly arrangement. And if you have them do 10 hours of work that month, you pay them for 10 hours. If you have them do no work, you pay them nothing, or you pay us nothing. If you have them do 50 hours because you're suddenly, frantic and gearing up for trial, then you pay them for 50 hours. So it's a very flexible way to get that help as your workload may fluctuate. Example number two for hourly. Maybe your firm needs a lawyer to review a large volume of contracts as part of a due diligence on a deal, but it's hard to predict exactly how much time that's going to take or how long. Again, this is more than a single project because it's hard to predict, how many hours and pay them, but it's not a subscription because this is going to have a finite end. When the doc review is done, this work is done. So paying them on an hourly basis for their work for whatever time period it takes to get through this is a perfect solution. Example number three for hourly. Okay, let's say your firm has, occasional need to get some tax advice on your cases. You don't need to hire someone full-time to be on your team and pay that overhead when you don't need them all the time, but you want access to someone and you'd like it to be the same person to get, continuity in the advice you're getting that you're factoring into your decisions that you then relay to your clients. And so if you want to work with that same person, have them on standby. Hourly is a perfect solution to fill this need and help this firm. And example number four, let's say you need help from a freelance lawyer for a deal, a transaction from, the start to completion. There's a lot of moving parts. It's definitely more than a single project. You don't want to put each part of the deal into a project to the person. You just want to be able to flow through the work and pay them for the hours that they're working. Again, this is perfect for hourly because when the deal's done, you just stop sending them work and we don't charge you anymore. And so again, flexible, perfect fit if you have this type of need in your firm. Few more notes on getting work done with our middle option, our hourly program, okay? This is again geared for written work only. So no court appearances, no depositions, no client interaction, any of that. It's written work only. It is a great solution for any seasonal needs. If you have a seasonal demand where you need extra help, a year-end rush, or again, a big case, a huge deal that you're trying to close. It really nicely accommodates the ebbs and flows that are natural as part of a law firm. You're busy, you're slow, you're busy, you're slow. You can automatically adjust to that with hourly. It's a great way to have someone on standby to be able to jump in fast and help you on a moment's notice when you have a sudden demand and you need another lawyer to help on the case. Or, it's just a great, safety net to have for any firm that is always busy and wants an extra set of hands on standby when you need to tap them and say, hey, can you come in and work on this discovery this week? And hey, next week, can you, prep jury instructions for this attorney? And hey, next week, can you do this, help with discovery on this case? Great, flexible, affordable option. Okay. Now, again, hourly, just like projects, is a way to drive more revenue and make more money for your firm. The key here again is to charge a reasonable rate for the hours and the work that this freelance lawyer is doing for you via the hourly program. Same issue as before. What's a reasonable rate? You're going to determine that, and our team can help if you need some input, but you will determine that. So what does that look like in the hourly program to make money? Let's say that you are paying the hourly associate $140 an hour whenever you tap them and have them come in and do work. Maybe you have a pretty complex practice, sophisticated work. You determine that based on their skill level and expertise, you can bill them to your client at $300 an hour. Great. In a given month, you assign them 20 hours of work. So you are billing the client $6,000. You've paid the freelancer $2,800 for that work. That means you are driving profit to your firm of a little over $3,000 for just that 1 month. Okay. If you course this out over a year, and again, some months it may be 50 hours, some months it may be none. It's going to go up and down, but this can quickly become a major source of revenue for your firm without bringing on overhead that you would with a traditional hire. So last but not least, I always like to give a few helpful tips when you are working with someone in that ongoing role through an hourly associate type relationship. There's some great tips to know. Number one, if you have a template for a form that you're asking them to work on, share it. There's no reason not to. It's going to help them do the work faster, which costs you less. And it's also going to result in them having a final work product that is closer in line with what you had in mind and what you're hoping for. So do share templates. Be sure to give detailed instructions. You're not doing yourself or your freelancer any favor if you skimp on giving the details about what you're looking for in the scope of work, the tone that you want in the writing, any nuances they need to know about the case, et cetera, et cetera. So putting a little extra effort into giving detailed instructions at the onset is definitely going to help you when you get that written work back. Be responsive. If they text you or email you or message you with a question, get back to them as soon as you can. Otherwise, you're going to be a logjam and slow them down to do good work. And if for some reason you can't be responsive, it's good to have an alternate contact person at your firm that they can go to if you're on vacation or in trial or whatever, you're sick. Maybe that's another attorney, maybe that's your assistant. Oftentimes they just say, hey, I need to see the court order from the hearing on October 17th, 2021. They need another document. It's great to have an alternate contact person that they can reach out to when they need a hand. And last but not least, of course, try to avoid rush jobs. I know I'm an attorney, I'm married to an attorney, surrounded by attorneys, things come up, okay? We deal in a world of putting out a lot of fires. But as much as you can, avoid sending rush work to this person. Again, you're not doing them any favors or yourself any favors by trying to rush them to do work when you can give them time to do their best work. Okay, so that was hourly, all right? So far we've talked about number one, projects, single piece of work, very easy to package up. It's a discrete project. Number two, hourly, where you pay the freelancer by the hour for however much work you need. That can ebb and flow. In some months it can be zero. Now, our third option is definitely our most powerful, and it's the one that has truly changed the way hundreds of law firms all across the country are getting help to power their firms, and that is our subscription program. Now, this program was started, we rolled that out in January of 2021, and it's just had huge success. We have firms all across the country working with us, anywhere from our minimum 30 hours a month to full-time associates. We even have some attorneys that have multiple full-time remote associates through our subscription program. So it's really been a game changer for a lot of firms. And let's look at what the subscription program looks like, okay? So I already mentioned that it has a minimum requirement of 30 hours every 4 weeks. Our billing for subscription goes in 4-week increments. The minimum is 30 hours. If you have less than that, you're better off doing hourly or posting projects. It's just what we've seen. And so that's why we set this minimum. It is primarily geared for written work only, but there are certain instances where we do allow more in-depth work. We call that full associate. That would include court appearances. That would include depositions. If a number of requirements are met about, of course, the freelancer's status of being barred in the state, the jurisdiction, and them being added to your insurance, et cetera, et cetera. But if you have a need for help with court appearances, depositions, client meetings, et cetera, we can accommodate that, but only through our subscription program and only for a minimum of 40 hours a month, okay? So you might be wondering, what does the subscription program cost? One thing that's a little different with subscription is that you and your chosen freelance lawyer, once you go through and vet them, look at their credentials, when you decide on someone, you're going to have a little bit of a back and forth to agree on a rate, but we're going to help get you in the ballpark. So we offer 3 different levels: junior attorney, experienced attorney, and then a senior attorney. And they have a range of hourly rates. And again, you and the freelancer are going to work that out so that it's mutually agreeable upon at the onset of the work. Okay, what is this subscription? How does this work? How do you get started? So first, you're going to give us your requirements. You're going to say, okay, I need help with someone with at least 5 years of experience in immigration law, preferably employment-based immigration law, past experience working for a nonprofit immigration clinic is preferred, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Whatever your dream candidate is, we want to get those requirements. Then we're going to go out and we are going to find candidates and pre-vet them for you. We send you the top options and you tell us how much help you need. Do you need help 10 hours a week? Okay, that's a 40-hour subscription. Do you need help 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week? Whatever it is, we're going to find that sweet spot for you. And just know that can be a very flexible arrangement. Okay, there's no long-term commitment. You can cancel at any time with 30 days written notice. And you can flex up and down. So let's say you start with a 40-hour a month subscription. You have someone, on call 10 hours a week. And by the way, that doesn't have to be 10 hours every week. You could do all 40 hours in the first week and then either decide if you're not going to send them any more work or if you're going to go and pay them overtime. But, let's say you start with a 40-hour subscription and then you look at your calendar and realize we have 3 trials coming up in the next 4 months. You boost that up to 60 hours a month or 80 hours a month. And then when those trials are over, you come back down to 40. We can work with you to adjust the number of hours. So that, again, there are flexibilities within this program. And again, no long-term commitments. Another really cool thing is we've seen a lot of firms customize their needs with multiple virtual associates through our subscription program. So for example, we've seen real estate firms come in and say, we have a portion of our practice that is transactional based, and we have a portion of our real estate practice that is litigation based. And so they could come in and hire a litigation real estate associate to work maybe 60 hours a month to help them. And on the flip side, they could hire a second remote associate who has a more transactional based experience to come in and help the firm for 40 hours a month. So you could tap into litigation experience and transactional experience rather than hire just one associate who maybe doesn't have a ton of experience in either. You can get really deep knowledge and experience customized to the needs of your firm. So I think that's pretty cool. Again, let's look at how you can make money with subscription, because this is really where this thing gets pretty amazing. Okay, let's say our example here, you hire a remote associate for 40 hours every 4-week period every month. You're going to pay them $100 an hour. Okay, that would be a $4,000 outlay of money that you're paying. You determine that their reasonable market rate for billing their work is $275. Again, that might seem really high to some of you, might seem really low to some of you. It varies across the country and by practice areas. So you could be billing their 40 hours to clients at $275 an hour. That means you'd be billing out $11,000 a month. The net profit to your firm would be $7,000 a month. Okay, you're paying for, you're billing them out at 11. That means you're bringing in an additional $7,000 without any overhead. You're not paying their health insurance. You're not paying their CLE or bar dues. You're not paying for their office equipment. You're not paying for their Wi-Fi or cell phone. There's no overhead. And so, over the course of a year, $7,000 a month, 12 months, $84,000 a year. That's huge for a solo attorney or a small firm. And, 40 hours a month is one thing, 60, 80, you can see how this can quickly make a lot of sense and how it can quickly help you get a ton of work done without you staying up late, burning the midnight oil, pulling an all-nighter. Hopefully none of you have done that recently, but I know a lot of lawyers do. Okay, a few best practices when it comes to subscription as well. I definitely suggest that you and your subscription associate set a regular one-on-one meeting. And you can see what works for you. Is that once a week? Is that once a month, twice a month? But have a standing meeting and honor it. Don't cancel it. Don't bail on them. That is a dedicated time when they can come to you with questions and get feedback. It's going to speed things up for both of you. Again, definitely share any forms and templates that you may have with them. Give them input on your wishes for a writing style. In my practice, my probate practice, our probate judge likes very conversational, simple type words. We don't do a lot of heavy legalese. So you can give them input on writing style or maybe even font requirements for a particular court. Give them access to tools and documents within your firm to help them succeed. And again, another point person beyond you is great so that they have a second person they can go to when they have questions when you might not be available. And last but not least, always be responsive. Whether you're working with a project with hourly or subscription, if your freelancer comes to you with a question or they need a document, get back to them as quickly as you can so you are not holding up their work, which you don't want to do. Okay, so, the whole goal of today was to talk through the options, okay? And maybe you've heard about these options, you're like, okay, I definitely need hourly. or you're like, I definitely just need to post some projects. I hope that maybe you're having some of those light bulb moments, but if you're still a little murky, when you're considering the options between project and hourly and subscription, here's a few key questions to consider. How often do you need the help? Do you need help hours every single day? Then you're probably looking at a subscription. Do you need help once in a while, but they're not really like neat little projects? Then it's probably hourly. Do you need help once in a while, but it's typically with, hey, I need this research or I need this motion? Then it's a project. Okay, those are things to talk about. How often do you need help? Do you have steady work? Do you feel like you're constantly buried? Have you been trying to hire without any luck on your own? Well, if so, that's a pretty good sign that you definitely need our hourly program, and you really might need the subscription if you have a very steady, predictable volume of work that you're going to need one person and you want to have the same person on hold, on standby to get to know each other and work together. Again, like I mentioned, if you've been trying to hire and not having luck in your own market and you're considering other options like outsourcing through LawClerk, pretty good indicator you probably need a subscription. And then last but not least, what kind of work do you need? Is it longer, ongoing work where you don't want to chop it down into little projects? Then definitely our hourly or subscription is a good solution for you. Okay. You can mix and match. This is the cool thing. I hope you can see this slide. I like this candy picture, but you can mix and match. So let's say you have someone on standby with an hourly, but a different issue comes up and that's outside of their area of expertise. You can still post a project. Or let's say you have, a subscription person that helps you 60 hours a month, but then you are gearing up for trial, but you don't want to pull that subscription person away from the main work they've been helping you on. You could add an hourly attorney for a few months, or you could post some projects to get that help with the litigation. And as I mentioned earlier, you can have more than one. We have a number of firms that I can think of one firm right now that has already started with 3 hourly associates, still post projects. We had one guy who had 5 different attorneys on a subscription for 80 hours a month for a number of months. And in fact, one of them has stayed on for now over 3 years. You get the idea. You can get creative. And that's really cool because you're not going to pigeon yourself with one hire who doesn't have all the expertise you need. You can mix and match as you need help. And if you're not sure what you need, just reach out to us. Okay. We will absolutely help you. Okay. To recap, we offer 3 really powerful ways to get help: single projects, ongoing hourly work, or steady, consistent subscription work. You can mix and match. You can have more than one. Never, ever forget that hiring another attorney to help your firm should result in you making more money. And last but not least, our team is always here to help you succeed. If you're not sure where to get started, reach out to support@lawclerk.legal. That's an email address, support@lawclerk.legal. Or if you have connected with your advisor's a great resource. Just talk to them and they can help talk through these options and get you the help that you need. So, what are you waiting for? Hopefully by now you are seeing the value of outsourcing, that it is a powerful, flexible way for you to get help when you need it, whether that's every single day or it's once in a while. Outsourcing is a great way to tap into talent. There's a lot of very talented lawyers out there, very intentionally choosing to work as a freelance lawyer for other lawyers because they don't want to be managing their own practice. They don't want to be going to court and doing those things. So you've got this, and we are here to help. If you have enjoyed today's session, and I am going to get to questions, so if you have questions, please drop them. But if you've enjoyed this video, I would definitely invite you to find us on YouTube, like and subscribe. That way, when we have new content coming out by video, it's there if you want to watch it. And of course, connect with us on your favorite social media platform, whatever that might be. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, we're on all of those. You can go connect with us there, and then you'll stay in the loop with ways that we can help you. So, all right, I am going to now stop the share, I think, and it looks like we maybe have a couple of questions. Let me come over here. Okay. Thank you for the questions. Okay. Question 1 is, can freelancers be ethically used to handle matters in another state when the hiring attorney is not licensed in that state, but the freelancer is? That's a good question. I'm going to give a very lawyerly answer on, I guess it depends. It's going to depend on the local rules of those states. It's going to depend on, if the freelancer is handling the matter, then that would obviously be causing them to engage in the practice of law. They would need to do that through our subscription program and be added to the hiring attorney's malpractice plan. So there's, some hoops to jump through, but first and foremost, you have to look at your local state rules to make sure that would not be a violation. Okay. Second question, let me read it here. Okay, a couple of great questions here. Okay, the first part of this question is, what are the ethical rules regarding disclosure to your client and consent to your client of using a freelance lawyer to get work done? Great question. We have a number of resources on this on our blog. Some states do require it to be consented to, others don't. My best advice on this is just a best practice is if you want to keep this open to you as an option to be able to work with a freelance lawyer as needed when you decide it makes sense for that case and that need, then I would just go ahead and add standard language to your standard engagement agreement, authorizing you in your discretion to use freelance lawyers to staff cases at your discretion. So if you go on our blog and look for engagement agreement, we have sample language for you to use, or if you want to drop me your email on here, I'll jot it down and email that to you after the program. But a best practice is just to add it in writing. The markup of fees. Okay. In my law firm's engagement agreement, we have a schedule of fees, and that would include a fee for a freelance lawyer. We have like a range. So that is disclosed up front. In addition to that, the only state I know of that has some unique rules is Texas. Texas, and if you go on our blog and search Texas, you will get these. But the rule in Texas is that on the bill, you have to show that they are not a member of your firm, that they're an outside contractor, and you have to show the markup on the bill. So great questions. Okay, it looks like there's a part 2 to this question. Okay, the question is, what is the timing of paying the freelancer versus being paid by the client? Great question. Cash is king, and that shows me that you're focused on your collections and your revenue, which is so important for the health of any law firm. So the way the payments work for a project, let's go one by one. Projects, you are going to, when you post the project and you select someone, we are going to charge your credit card for the flat fee. So let's say you have a flat fee project of $500. We're going to hold that money until you tell us the work's done and you're happy with it. And then we're going to release it to the freelancer for payment after we take our commission. Okay. So you're obviously paying for that before you're billing that to the client. Now, if you have a retainer from a client, that's obviously going to be a good call. But I know there's some cases where you have to have court orders to pay fees, including fees of freelancers working for you. So typically these are, going to be expenses that you are fronting and you're collecting from the client. But if you're getting your bills out every month on time, then there shouldn't be a lag on that. And you're quickly going to see the profits add up and give you a nice cushion. Now on the hourly program, hourly is billed every week on Monday. Okay, so you set up an account with us, and if you don't assign your hourly associate any work for that week, we're not going to charge you. Okay, if you don't have any work for a number of weeks, that's fine. If in a week you give them 12 hours of work, then we're going to bill you for those 12, and we just replenish it, and it's done every Monday. Okay, there's a flow on that. It's a little more complicated. I don't want to go into that in too much detail, but again, it's on our blog, or if you send me an email, I'll put my email in here. I would be happy to send you those resources so you can see the exact timing. If I can remember my email. Can't type. Hey, Tyler at LAWCLERK.legal. Okay, if you any of these things that you want me to send you the blog on the Texas rules, on the sample language for the engagement agreements, on the timing of payments for hourly, on subscription. Okay, subscriptions are billed every other week, so twice a month. The freelancer is paid every week for the work that they're completed that's been approved. So again, with all of these, you will be paying for it before you bill the client, but you're also often paying staff, whoever they are, whether they're a full-time attorney on your staff or paralegal, receptionist or whatever, that's part of the cost of doing business, and further incentivizes you to A, always get retainers, and B, get those bills out promptly so that you're paid for your work. Great questions. Okay. I'm going to hang out another minute or two because I know sometimes it takes a while to type out a question, but I really appreciate your time today. I hope this was helpful for everyone on here still. I appreciate you so much. So yes, there are lots of options, but we will help you figure out the best one for you and help make outsourcing as easy as can be. Okay. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for today. I don't have any other comments. So if you don't have questions, you can feel free to get back to your regularly scheduled programming the rest of your day. Thank you again. Our team is always here to help you. You can email support@lawclerk.legal, or you can reach out to me directly, ktyler@lawclerk.legal, and I can always connect you with the right team member to get you the help that you may need. Okay. Oh, one more question just came in. Oh, I love this question. Okay, the question is, do attorneys sometimes use freelancers for their own internal consulting to learn more about a subject? Absolutely. This is one of my favorite ways that I see a lot of attorneys creatively collaborating with other freelance attorneys through LawClerk. Absolutely. I have seen attorneys, I remember once we had an attorney in like Florida that said, I need to talk, just wanted a phone call, just wanted to talk to someone, and said, posted a project and said, I need to talk to an employment lawyer in Texas about a matter my client's facing. I just want a 1 hour phone conversation, and I'm willing to pay $250 or whatever it was. So a phone conversation. But this is a great way, especially for solo attorneys or small firms, to have another set of eyes on things, another legal mind analyzing arguments and strategies. I remember once we had a hiring attorney in Kansas, solo. He came in and he posted 5 of the same projects, and he hired 5 people. The project was, he said, read my client's motion and read their opposition and tell me who wins and why, because he wanted that input of who wins and why to factor into his arguments for his reply brief. Okay, so he had 5 different lawyers come in. All they had to do was read his motion, read the opposing party's reply, and give him an email or a written document about who would win and why, to get another set of eyes and ears and minds looking at these issues to set up his client for the strongest possible argument. So I thought that was really cool. I could go on these all day, but yeah, I've even seen lawyers come in here and they hire another lawyer to give them advice about their divorce or modifying their child custody. I mean, we see a lot of different things. So it could be advice for your own personal use or just getting another person's input on your case. So, all right, folks. I think we've about covered it for today. Let's wrap it up. I'm Kristin Tyler. Thanks for joining me today to talk about all of the flexible options that we have for hiring and outsourcing with LawClerk.legal. And I hope you'll consider joining us for our next webinar. It's actually next Wednesday, May 3rd, is part of Wellbeing Week in the law. We are having a panel discussion on attorney well-being and just kind of getting into, the nuances of what that really means. The whole panel is lawyers. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you can join us. You'll see that on our social and in our email. So, all right, guys, take care. Thank you so much.